Well, hi everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube art tutorial channel. Well, I've got a Daler Rowney. It's 135 gram textured watercolour paper. It's a Daler Rowney, and it's got 25 sheets, A5. This is only A5 size. Done one or two studies on there, but the paper is not that thick. But having said that, I think it's going to be thick enough for what I need. So it's only A5, and I'm going to secure that down. I haven't got any tape with me at the moment, which is quite normal sometimes when I'm out sketching, when I'm away or whatever. So I'm putting a couple of these clips, these little paper clips, just on the edge to hold the outside edge down. But apart from that, that's all I shall use as my surface. Well, as you can see, I've produced the outside outline drawing plus some additional details that will be required in this line and wash painting. Obviously, it's not to perfect scale, but that's the fun of painting. Windows, if a touch out of proportion. It's got the hoop as the title. It's got the form and the shape, the chimneys, everything is there. And that's the looseness of this sort of way of sketching, and it's a lovely way of making a study for a future watercolour, as I say, in the future. Now, I've finished with the pen. I just want to show you when I'm producing the drawing, I've added more sort of detail in that area than I've added to that building or that building. So this is bordered as well, but I've only just hinted at that because I want that one to dominate and these two to just soften away. Now I'm going to paint fairly well back because I want you to see my mixing techniques. Well, I've freshened up the colours with just pure water. It's slightly coloured the water, but I'm not too concerned about that. And I've selected 3 pencils because there's a couple of areas that I really require just to put a bit of this water-soluble pencil in. Don't know why I'm doing this because there's no real need, but I just thought I'd experiment a little really. I'm going to put a bit of red into the roof. Well, it's more of an orange really, and a little bit of orange into that roof. There you go. And I'm actually going to create sections to that just to give it a feeling, and of course a touch stronger along the top, just to give a sense of a bit of something going on. Not going to give any colour to that at this stage. Now the yellow, one of these figures is wearing a yellow coat, so that's what I'm going to paint in there, and the other one is very, very dark, but I'll leave that. And this yellow is also going to be used to enhance that grass. And notice I'm shading the way the grass would lay, like that. And I'm going to add a little brown to the gravel area. It's a gravel area, but I'm not going to add too much, but it does need just a little bit there because it's all going to be washed with colour. So that's all of the additional colours that I'm adding with my water-soluble watercolour pencils. Now, first thing I'm going to do is to wash in a blue, and I'm actually using, I think it's a Prussian blue there, and I need a good puddle because I need to give this a little bit of colour. picking around the chimneys, adding more blue there, a bit less there, and you'll find that this, you know, it dries very quickly, so you get a lot of blooms. I think that's what they call them, blooms in the wash. I'm not too concerned with that, and it's laid flat, so I think we'll accept that as quite a nice little sky. See how it's drying, because it's a very, so I've created a cloud there. There we go. And this side I'm going to go even darker with the colour, just another tone. So that's the sky area. That's come off particularly well, I think. Right, clean the brush. Next, I'm going to give the building a bit of land to sit on. So I'm saying I'm going raw sienna for that. Could be yellow ochre, that's entirely up to you. And I'm just lifting away some of that brown colour that was originally there. So that's given that an additional feel of tone. So there is a reason for adding these drawings of the brown with the watercolour pencils. So that's always a useful thing to remember. Right, pinks. We have a pink. So that building is pinky. Well, actually, it's more yellowy pink. So let's add a little bit of yellow to that. That's the one, isn't it? Yeah, that's a bit better. It's not even pink, but never mind, because we're not too concerned with that. As I said, that really is it's just gonna disappear, really. You know, I'm not getting too detailed with that. This one up this end is going to add a bit of red to that, putting a little bit of that Prussian blue with it, because I want to kill that red. Cadmium red, that's cadmium red. And I want to just paint that in. Most of my brilliant colours will be associated with the main building, which is the hoop itself. So that's pretty okay. Now I'm going to do the roof areas now. I've added burnt sienna to that mix of blue and red, to that area. These roofs are quite dark, but they're not. Not going to paint them too brilliant. So that one's like that. This one will be the same then. Don't see a problem with making those the same sort of tone. Hopefully they won't dominate, just to lift a little bit of that away so we don't have too much colour there. Once it dries, it'll dry several tones lighter anyway, so we're not too concerned with that. There we go, not concerned about the edges. Right, now the red tile roofing, well, I'm going to add red to that because this is my dominant building, and red tile roofing is purely that colour, but it doesn't want to be too dark, so I've put it on fairly dark. Then I'm going to damp the brush and spread that colour through, because you've got to remember we've got colour already on there, so it will give us a natural sort of deep colour anyway. And it looks very deep in colour, but I can assure you, like all these watercolour things, like all watercolours, once it dries, it will dry considerably lighter. And we do have another area there, like that. So that's another roof area. That's good. Allow that to dry. Well, I'm looking for a grey now. And to get my grey, it's purely for that part of the building there, I'm going to use a blue, that's the Prussian blue there, and a little bit of red. And blue and red, if you use the right colours, that's cadmium red, by the way, should give you a warm grey, and that's what I'm looking for. Don't want a grey that's cold. it's quite a warm grey anyway, but I like to make my greys a little warmer, even if they're not quite as warm as that in the actual painting. So that's what I called my grey for that. And I'm going a little more blue now for, we do have a roof area here that's grey. Don't want to touch that just in case that's, oh well. Good thing with watercolour, line and wash, is everything you touch is already lined. So it's not vastly, it doesn't make a very big difference if you don't hold the line properly, because the line is held by the marks in the paper, providing you don't go too dark with the wash itself. Good. While I'm at it, I'm going to add just a little bit of brickwork there. So let's paint that in like that. Didn't hold that line particularly well, but that's not going to make any difference. And a little bit, actually, it's a little bit of grey. Change the grey, a little bit more blue for there. And if that bleeds into it, so much the better. Gives the building something to sit on. And then while I'm waiting for that to dry, I already had some pre-mixed green on the palette. Don't want it too brilliant, so I'm putting a red with that, or the muddy mix of red that I've got there. Notice how that kills it, you know, from that brilliant to something a little less intense, because I now want to paint that, loosening up the colour of, I can paint around those because potentially they are white, but I've gone all over them anyway. There we go. And that is the grass, and I'm just spreading that grass out just a touch, because that's the way it goes over the path, and that runs out to the left. So that's the green colour really. Right, where do we go from here? Well, I've gone into the larger round now, because I want to just use the point just to fiddle some additional colour. That's a technical term. Well, it isn't, but that's the term I'm using. And I'm going to fiddle all the red. I always like to have nice red. It's a bit heavy. I always like to have nice red chimneys. They always look, that's better. I've separated the brush there, so that's better. They always look right on these buildings, you know. Right, clean the brush, because we do have some yellow chimneys. And don't need too much water for this. Hopefully that's not going to blob. No, there you go. Look at that. That's nice. And then we're going in with the red tile work for the tops of the chimneys. This one is all red actually. Not worried if that bleeds into it. That's got a surround, but that's all. The rest is white, so that's okay. And a little bit of blue goes in this, a bit more perhaps, because these bricks are of a greeny grey colour, not too dark. Let's not be too dark with that. There we go. I want that to sit back yet again. Good. Right, I've mixed the Prussian with the crimson, very strong mix, because these gateposts are quite dark, and I put the main ones in first. Normally do that, then I put in some sections. I'm leaving gaps because you can see through these. There's just a touch across there, touch across there, touch coming down there, and just bring them up to the top there. I'm not counting them, and I hope you don't either. Anyone that knows this building, you know, we don't need anybody counting the sections, because I'm far from right, basically. Just leave that piece of area there unpainted. That's fine. That's good enough for the gate. I'm quite happy with that. Oh, and I've just spotted a seat here. couple of little benches. There's one there that I'm not drawn in. That's interesting. We can always add them, which I have. And I think we have another couple here. Putting one in, let's just see how that goes. Because if you're not good at them, don't put too many in. Well, I think they look right, so I'm going to put another one there. There we go. A couple of little benches. Oh, and that figure, I'm going to put some brown with that, just to darken it, because that figure there has quite a dark jacket. There. And this one has a very dark rucksack. Or backpack, or whatever they call them these days. Not really sure. Oh, and of course, blue jeans. Well, are we really worried? Well, put a bit of blue onto that. There, a bit more blue. Perfect. So that's the figures in. Now, clean the brush. I'll show you in real time on this one. Clean the brush. Take a bit of moisture off on a bit of kitchen paper or whatever you've got anyway. And I'm going in with some red. That's actually pink, so let's use a bit of the crimson with that red. There we go. We've got some pinky. It's sort of it's winter, but funny enough, we've got a little bit of flowering here. Not quite sure. I'm not good with flowers, so I'm not quite sure what whether I would say they're natural, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt and call them natural. And we have a bit of green. Now I'm going to pick up a bit of green that's on the side there. Mix a bit of that red with it. I don't want it too brilliant, because we do have some little touches of green that are coming down like that. Perhaps we'll have a bit more brilliant green, because we need to show that. Don't want it to be all just a blob of colour. There we go, that's better. A little bit more suggestion there. Right, figure. Well, the figures. One has blonde hair, so that's that one. And the other, more or less grey, so that'll be no hat. Don't think there's any hat, so just bring a little bit of grey into that mix there. There we go. Good. Now the windows. Now while you've been away, well, you haven't been away really, but there you go. I've actually put in a grey for the door, similar to that, but a little bit cooler because it's moving out of picture. And I've put in a bit of greenery, picked up a bit of green from the palette somewhere, for the door, and actually that is a garage door, I believe, and that's the front door. Now I'm going to go in with, I'm actually not going to use any other blue than the Prussian. That's all I've used, and I'm going to use that right the way through this subject. Now I'm using Prussian and burnt sienna. Normally they come up green, but in this instance, because they're only student colours with this particular mix and palette, which I don't mind, you know. That's why the brilliant greens are there, because it's the best way to get a brilliant green is to use a green from the palette. And now I'm going to paint in the windows. So we've got, how many panes have we got? 3 panes. 1, 2, 3, and 2 in the lower part. 1, 2, 3, and 2 in the lower part. And that's all you need to do. Notice how I'm putting them in quickly, because the quicker you put them in, the looser they will appear. You start trying to draw each one absolutely perfectly, doesn't fit with the rest of the picture. Believe me, I have tried it and it doesn't work. Now, these, do you know what I'm going to do for these windows? I'm going to use the side of the brush and just drag down, because I don't want detail on these windows. Is there windows in the door? I think there is above here somewhere. Oh well, We'll just make it darker then, like that. Not worried about it. Oh, and these windows, that's exactly what I'm going to do here. And the way I'm going to do it, I'm going to put my hand there because I want to be fairly controlled. One there, like that, and one there like that. I've left white to denote that there are some white areas, and also we have a little darker sill. I think I'm right in saying that, but anyway, the sill has gone in a little darker. Oh, and we have a step just a little darker there. Other than that, I don't think we're far off. Oh, just one thing that I've forgotten, and that's the gutter. Right, let's go dark again. So black is, in this instance, Prussian blue with burnt sienna. What's the burnt sienna there? Add a bit more blue. The more blue you go, the more sort of black it goes until it goes very sort of blue black, which I don't want. Gutter needs to be put in extremely thinly. Don't want that to be too, and we've already got the downpipe, we've got the gutter there, and of course we've got another gutter here, a nice bit of overhang there, another little gutter there. These old buildings don't have big wide gutters. Also got a downpipe here somewhere, so let's just sneak that in right at the end. So that, oh, and while we have this dark colour, a little bit of furniture on this door. There you go. And it's still a little bit damp, so we're not too worried. It tends to bleed away and soften. That's nice. Oh, and the door itself has a window, a dark window. Good, and I'm going to leave that. I haven't put any spread on that colour. That was, if you remember, the original first watercolour pencil that I used. Good. Now all we need now is some quick washes of shadow work, and then we're done. It's good, this. Now there is an argument for using all of the colours that you've used for your shadows. I have done that. So let's try it. Bit of green, bit of red, a bit of yellow, and we've got a brown. Right, now do we want a warm shadow or a cool shadow? I'm going for a cool shadow. So I am putting a lot more of the, trying to loosen up that, there you go, a lot more of the blue in, because that will give me somewhat cooler shadow. A little bit of red just to warm that shadow up. There we go. And that's not going to be painted in too strongly. We don't want that to be too strong. Bit of blue. It's actually slightly greeny blue, which I'm not too concerned about really. Should I be? I don't know. We'll know when we got it in. The first thing I'm going to do is this gable end. So I'm going for the, not too dense, going for the gable end first. This is just purely the shadow work. And that then can be painted like that. And then that would come like that. I'm going to have the light coming from the left. Forgot to say that, but there you go. Notice how it shows up. But of course there'd be a casting light like that across that chimney. Bit more round to the front, so possibly that may just cross there like that. That would probably cast up there and across like that, showing just a little bit of light there. Then this would all be in shadow as well. See the way once you add these shadows. I'm going to have a casting shadow onto the roof there too, which is also a good thing to do. There you go. A bit more blue. Yeah, I'll go along with that. And while we have that blue, there is an overhang shadow in the windows, like that, down the left-hand side, under the sill area, there, down the left-hand side, across the top, down the left-hand side of the door and across the top. That's always a good area for shadows. A bit more blue. I like my blue. I'm interested in this blue as a shadow. Oh, there's another shadow there. That's interesting. Bit of shadow on the back of a couple of the figures. And of course, some nice, those two wide. There we go. Just a quick splash of the brush across the paper. And then we do have some casting shadow from those hanging baskets there, of course. Hoping that'll, let's just lift a bit of that off, don't let it be too dark. No, it's on wide, it should dry quite nicely. And that's going to just highlight the head on that figure. That's nice. Right, a bit more blue. Right, that's the main building. Oh, and of course, that then extends across there, doesn't it? And that could also be in shadow, so we're not too concerned about having sunlight there. Nice bit of shadow there. Oh, well, let's do the more permanent shadow first, the darker shadow, which is that, and of course the area there, and that then spreads across the grass along with the left hand side and the right hand side and these posts as well. There you go. Look at that. All of a sudden they stand in clear relief, and then of course you've got the hanging bits. I think that's what they call them. Well, it isn't what they call them, but there you go. That's what I'm calling them. Oh, and now we have this colour. We don't want to be too dark with these shadows. Don't want these shadows to show too much of that part of these buildings, but it's always nice to put in a little bit of shadow like that. And this is going to be shaded. That's shaded. This is shaded. Not too deep. Gone a bit lighter with the shadows here because, you know, the brush has run out of paint. That's the only reason. So, you know, it's one of those times where I quite often say don't keep painting. Keep reloading the brush. But in this instance, it's not a bad idea not to keep reloading the brush. Good. And my old favourite is a nice little bit of shadow in the foreground. I don't know why, but I always feel that a little bit of cool shadow or even warm shadow helps to give that a lift. It's running across there like that. Just not as dark as the shadow of those thingies there, but just enough. There we go. And I think we're pretty much there. A little bit on that, so it's lighter there and shadow there. And no, that's pretty much it. Let's see what we've got. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy painting your next subject. From my YouTube channel here in Essex, a very good day, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you for watching.